Hello and welcome back to the veg garden. So in today's video I'm just going to be giving a quick tour of the whole garden and showing you around what I've got planted and what I'm hoping to plant in each bed, and just some little plans really of what's going on. So let's get into it. So I'm going to do things in order now. I'm going to do this side of the garden and then this side of the garden, then we'll move down the bottom garden. So to start off with, I've got some Champion of England peas planted here, and they're just going to climb up this string, hopefully. They're a tall climbing pea, between 8 and 10 foot tall. Then in these 3 buckets here I've got some flowers. So there's some forget-me-nots here already, and I've put some seeds in today actually, of just a balcony bee mix. Over here I've got a little pot of some herbs, some rosemary, oregano, thyme, and there's a little bit of variegated mint starting to grow back, some flowers in the wellies. In here is empty at the moment. There's the old hotbed box, but I'm hoping that to put some tomatoes in here soon. As you can see, the soil is quite nice. There's quite a bit of organic matter in this soil, and there's a lot of this sort of chaff left from when the mustard cover crop was growing here, and you can see it's quite a good cover crop. There's quite a lot of material that's coming because of it, and it puts a lot of goodness into the soil as well, so it's always a win putting the cover crop in. And then I got my first earlies here. I don't think there's anything to show yet. Oh yeah, there's just a few coming up now, little buds, and there's another bud there and there, so that's quite good. It's really nice soil here, even though I've not done much with this soil. As you can see, it's really grassy and weedy, but I've done the ridges and then filled in the trench with manure, so they get quite a good feed. And then the trellis there's a climbing hydrangea, and there's 2 rose bushes. Hopefully they'll climb up this wall. The hydrangea is looking really healthy actually. I'm really glad I paid for that and bought that. Then in the tunnel, there's not much growing in here. These are some weeds that need hoeing out, and I've done this mound here, which is going to be for sweet potatoes hopefully. And I have just noticed the first nasturtium of the season has started to germinate on its own, so that's quite nice. The tray of nasturtiums hasn't started yet obviously, but they have, so I'll leave that one there for now. Haven't ordered my sweet potatoes yet, but I will be doing so soon. Here I need to plant some things. I might plant some herbs and stuff there. Eventually I think this block here might be a cut flower garden. And then there's a bit of a border here. I've got some primroses, pansies. That's a weed. You need to be twisted out. That was pretty easy. Whole root and all. You can go to the hedge. Lovage. This is meant to get really tall. A bit of thyme there, and then some other herbs, chives, oregano, more oregano, different types. Yeah, strawberries there. And then yeah, we'll start this side now. So I've just got some flowers here, different things planted up for wildlife. In here is some mint, but I can't see any signs of the mint coming back yet. I mean, the roots are green still. They haven't died, so they should come back. And there's some clover here, which I allow to grow because I'll just rip a bit back then and sprinkle it on there. And it, when you cut clover, it puts nitrogen into the soil, so it's helping the mint to grow, and it's a bit of a green mulch. That noise is the mould deterrer. So I've got a bit of a flower border here. Then I've got a few little onions planted there in this little corner. Then I've got 3 rows of purple dragon carrots from West Side growers. So we'll see how well they do. Hopefully they'll do quite well. Some rogue parsnips that I've missed there, little tiddly ones, that I'll pull out as I need the beds for planting. So at the moment they're just putting some root exudates in. And now here's some Swedes. They're not doing great, but they were only planted the other day, so they're doing quite all right. This is a bed of just empty stuff at the moment, but it's got quite a bit of goat manure on it, so it should grow some quite nice plants. And then there's some nice red onions there, electric. They're called, that's the variety. And this is cola plant, and it smells like Coca-Cola, like sweets almost. And then there's some flowers, peas. These are from Seeds to Suit. Some quite nice peas here. They're purple pea, so I haven't got many of them, just to try the variety. Then there's some little brassicas here coming up, these 60-day broccoli, and there should be some carrots along there somewhere. Let's just knock this off. Otherwise it'll be making noise all the time. This patch here is empty for now, this little square. And you can see that the worm tower is doing quite well, the worm pipe. These have got little flowers on them, this is viola. So that's quite nice. And then here's just a seed bed of leeks, broccoli, and there's some kale and Brussels sprouts. Then here's my parsnip bed, this block. So I'll thin them out when they get a bit bigger, but I want them to all grow up a bit more soon first. Then some more Swedes, some garlic. These are an apple and a pear tree, and I'm going to keep short. And then there's some herbs and flowers underneath them. And there's a strawberry bed here. That's a trellis ready for cucumbers, and there's 2 rows of Oxheart carrots there, again from West Side growers. And then this patch is empty. There's a bit of what's that? Feverfew. That's quite a nice herb actually, and it's a really nice flower. Strawberries, some herbs. Again, can't have enough herbs. So this is quite a nice little tower. Rosemary, this is lavender. Just a good mix of different handy herbs there. There's some lavender here. This is willow cuttings. Now they are flowering, so I'm trying to nip these flower buds off, but leave the green tips behind, so that they'll focus on rooting. And then there's some currant cuttings there, black currants. There's some purple sprouted broccoli, and then the hotbed is coming quite well. You can see there's some carrots and some cabbages, and there's some potatoes in there as well. I haven't come up yet. And then I've planted a cauliflower there on the outside of it. Some more herbs and lavender and stuff, and again on this bed. Then we've got some broad beans. There's several different varieties here. We've got just the generic Bunyard's exhibition. Then the row on the outside is field beans, and then the 4 on the end are crimson. Then I've got a row of radishes along the edge of this bed, because the bed is like a mound, so that works quite well. And then at the end here we've got champion of England and a couple of lettuces just bunged in the end, and then there's some turnips here. The turnips are from Seeds. They were sown just under a week ago and planted out, so they are quite small, but they should come quite fast because they're Tokyo Cross variety. And then over here we've got Meteor peas. These are a dwarf peas, so they don't need any sort of trellising. A little grape vine along the back. I believe there's some flowers coming there. Don't know what of. We'll leave them flower. I'll cut the nettles, but leave the flowers. There's some kale here for shoots. I've harvested some already for our dinner. And this is the herb border that I did a few videos. I did a video about this a year ago. There's some more lavender and there's a primrose there. Giant garlic. And then there's these signs here which are really nice from Katie Parker pots. They're really nice ceramic markers. And they add a bit of character to the garden. So some two different types of beetroot here. You've got Gold Eye and Boltardi. Two really nice varieties. Now we've got some more garlic here that's just spare garlic. Really, it's not going to come as well because it's spring planted. But the other one earlier was with autumn planted. Both are quite late. No, saying that, the autumn one wasn't planted. It was planted in January, which is quite late. And it sat through the cold frosts, but it's come alright. And then there's some beautiful flowers on this white currant. So I'm really looking forward to having some white currants. This is the most exciting part of this bed. All these little seedlings that are sprouting up here are actually apples. And so hopefully in the autumn I can raise these and transplant them into pots perhaps, and just grow them on to see what happens. So each one of these will be a unique variety, which is quite nice. And then I've got some cuttings of the white currant planted there. They won't be moving, they'll be staying where they are. I might nip the flowers off that one just so that it focuses a bit more on itself, but overall they're quite good. These mole hills are quite annoying, so that's why I put the mold deterring device in. It doesn't harm them, it just drives them away. And then there's some strawberries planted. They're framberries and pineberries, which are unique, quite different. Bit of a sticky grass. Some tulips. This is some nice tulips growing here. Considering they were planted this year, they're coming really thickly. And then under this mulch, we've got some Jerusalem artichokes. I put this heavy mulch on to keep the frosts off, but I might remove it soon. Then we come round here, there's nothing on the ends of this bed now. I need to plant some perennials on it, but aniseed in 3 rows here, purple peas, and then there's some Oregon sugar pod peas here, and then there's some borage, which is quite nice, it's flowering already. And I'd say we're going to get 2 crops of borage because we've actually got loads of little seedlings here that are coming up, and these were overwintered. These started growing in the autumn, so that's quite a cool little coincidence. Nice to have borage. I like borage a lot. And then I've recently planted today top weight and autumn king carrots. And then the end here is what's left of the purple broccoli. I went through and harvested it today, so I'll just twist it out. Remove the roots because this bed here will be used to plant more carrots, like a successional sowing of carrots. This top bed is, I think, probably in need of some sort of a cover crop, maybe dwarf peas, and then cut them down, because it's only this manure on top that's actually nice. Underneath is quite rubbish soil, so I want to improve it. I've never actually had a crop off this patch of anything worthwhile, because actually this molehill here will demonstrate it quite well actually. It's really hard soil, and then once you break it, it's quite crumbly and stony. There's not much to it. The structure is really poor, so I'm hoping that this thick layer of mulch, along with perhaps some sort of cover crop, I haven't decided yet what, should improve the soil quite well. I need to move these posts, obviously. Then there's some flowers sown here on the terrace. I've recut the terraces to be wider than usual. They were narrower, but I've cut them so they're bigger terraces. I'll be putting some comfrey that I had from British Comfrey along there. I'll need to move all those containers, move these logs that I used to build the greenhouse. I might biochar them or use them to make trellises. Then there's some raspberries along the top here, and then along here will be some stuff. All of this will be used for comfrey and willow to make plant amendments. And I got my 2 wormeries out to the greenhouse to join the bath wormery, which is currently making a lot of worm juice, and I tip that all over the garden then. And then we'll go and have a look in the greenhouse. So some strawberries in the gutter there. This is the outside lot of perennials. There's some nice herbs and stuff here. This is tarragon, osteoflower, osteospermum. This is asparagus from seed, so these are coming on quite nicely. And then there's some nice willow here. That's actually self-sown from seed, and I've potted it on last year, so hopefully there'll be big plants by this year. Then we go inside the greenhouse, and we got this nice what's it called, no, it's not kiwi, goji berry. Then we got the potting bench. Been doing some potting up, and I got some seeds to sow in that heroes tin. And then just some herbs here, dahlias. This is bay leaf. Some comfrey. This is the British comfrey. Comfrey. Oh, where's that gone red? There. And then the hotbed's empty now. There's nothing in here. It's cold. So I just need to pull this cover off and then just leave it rot down. I might plant some stuff in the top of this now, because if I peel this back, you can see it's quite nice. I had tried spiking it with a fork to try and aerate it, but it still didn't get any more heat in it. So I'll leave that over for a few more days, and then I'll peel it off and plant it up. And then I got some nice herbs here, some more of this cola plant cuttings, loads of fennel from seed this year. So I plant that around to make it quite closed in places, I'm hoping. And then some more comfrey from British Comfrey. Strawberries, mint, you know, you name it, it's here. Everlasting pea or perennial sweet pea. There's, what are they called? Cape gooseberries, there, 4 of them. And then there's some just perennial herbs in there from seed. Some nice Dalefoot compost. That's just a bag to try. I don't use that all the time. And then we'll just walk down this path. See here in the polytunnel, I got some trays and some cabbages and broccoli, lettuce, hollyhocks, peas, sweet peas, stuff like that. And then underneath I've planted all of this to clover, red clover. So I've actually sown some seeds today, and I've also sown some previously, so they're actually already germinating. So we'll just see what comes of them. I'm hoping this will all be underplanted then to red clover, which will fix nitrogen and hold a bit of moisture, because it's a green cover crop. And then I'll mix in some white clover at some point when I get a pack, and then make this a perennial cover crop. It will just always be under my tomatoes. And then there's some wool on this. bed, and it smells really nice at the moment, woolly in here. This is all the drags from tailing, so they've got some manure on them, and you can see I've got this soaker hose buried underneath, and it goes down here and then back up the other side. I've actually got a reel of it here to show. It's like a porous soaker hose, and then this wire will be used for some cucumbers, and then there's some peas in the gutter. And it's funny how bad these are doing compared to peas that have sat on the hotbed. So these are only 2-3 inches tall. I know they're a standard main crop, whereas these are sun over. They were planted nearly a month behind the others, and they sat on the hotbed for a week, and they're 6 to 8 inches tall. So that shows the difference between varieties you choose and where you position them. There's some nice sweet peas here as well, and there's some lupins. Actually, I really like them. Never grown lupins before, but they come in really well. And now we'll pop down the bottom garden. So in the food forest now, this whole patch here has been sown to flowers, so I won't walk on that. Bit of a storage area. My dwarf plum, which has got 2 little flowers on it. I can't see any more, but that's all right. And then there's some herbs here. A lot of grass has come up. These are chives and Welsh onions, but I'm not too bothered about the grass because it's a food forest, so there's going to be all different things growing. But I am amazed that the raspberries are pushing their way over every year. They come further out, which is quite funny. There's some, what are they? Alpine strawberries, Egyptian walking onions. Now these are meant to be like, they grow up and then they fall over, and you can use the shanks, the bulbs, the shanks and the leaves. So I'll leave them grow and spread before using them. And there's some red vein sorrel, some flowers there, and then I've put some strawberry plants in, new strawberry plants, raspberries pushing up, rhubarb, woodruff, lemon balm, oregano, there's some fennel, rosemary, bronze fennel, chives, a lot of grass again, that needs removing. There is some places where I will remove the grass completely. Welsh onions, these are heading up now for seed. This is going to be my seed crop. All the rest I'm going to actually remove the seeds. But you can see that the stems on them are really big now this year, because these are quite mature Welsh onions. And if you let them flower, at the end of the flowering they actually divide up. So this was one plant last year, and you can see it's now 4 stems. This one's garlic chives. You can see it's got a bit of rust on it, but that's fine. And you can see how much leaf you get if you just break that off. You get a really sizable leaf to use. So I'll take that with me. And then you see the patch of chives here is just endless. Really nice flowers on chives, so I'll leave them to it. The apples are slow to flower this year. The pears are definitely ahead, and the plums. But that's fine, I'm not too bothered, as long as they do flower. Otherwise I'll be a bit disappointed. One little daffodil left. Not many left now, they've all gone. Lavender, it's got really yellowy patches on it, it's quite funny. Pansies, and then the rest is just empty at the moment. There's some onions there for a seed crop. And these beds here are meant to be empty, but they've got a lot of grass growing, so I've just got to go through my hands now and again and just rake them out. This will all be for an experiment, all these empty buckets, to trial true potato seeds. And then some cherries here, and then some tree cuttings, mint. The tunnel's empty, more mint. So to finish off, we've got the new patch and this little bit in the food forest here. So we've got some rhubarb, honeyberries, gooseberry, some Welsh onions, a plum tree, nice bit of sage, which is growing really healthily, and the rosemary. And then we got loads of potatoes here. So like I've done with the first earlies, in the top is I formed a mound and a trench, so it goes like that, and then filled the trenches with manure. So this manure here is a horse manure. It's 8 months old. As you can see, it's still a bit claggy, and there is bits where it's quite yellowy in colour, which shows it hasn't broken down fully. But it'd be fine for potatoes, and that's where it was sitting on the bottom of the heap, and it was a bit stagnant, but it should rot down fine. This is again more horse manure, but this is slightly fresher. It's 6 months old, and it was on you can see there was definitely more straw in the mix compared to that one, which was quite heavy on the manure actually. And I believe, yeah, a lot of this pile is actually from collection, from digging little tumps from in the field as well. So there's going to be more muck, more manure. And then this is goat manure. This is almost fresh actually. The oldest bits of this will be a month old. And you can see, well, no, actually the oldest bits of this could be up to 6 months old, because this wood chip hasn't been used in the goat shed for a while, but actually I've just been mounding it up in a heap outside. So there's just a mix between a bit of 6 month old and mainly fresh straight out the shed. And I heaped it up in a mound here, and then it got up to 70 degrees. I turned it once, I let it get back up to temperature, and then spread it. That's why a lot of it is broken down. It's got nice white fungal threads and like bacteria in there. It's quite nice stuff actually. But yeah, the potatoes will manage it fine. Shouldn't get too hot now. Most of it's heated up and got fine. It's had 20 days to heat up and cool. So in permaculture you can do an 18-day compost, so 20 days should be enough. And then this is the same stuff that I said earlier, the 8-month-old horse manure. But all I've done is raked it out flat with the back of a fork. And I keep hitting it with the back of the fork every nice dry day to pulp it up into a nice friable mix. In the back here I've got some peas that I was given by a nursery that didn't want them anymore, and some broad beans. There's the rest of the tray. They'd gone too leggy to sell, so I got given them for free, but they should come fine. And then there's a few more rounds here, and all these mounds actually have either a manure base or food scraps underneath them, so this should provide some fertility. And I'm planning on doing more of these mounds, so I've got 9 there and 10 there. So I'm hoping if I can bring the mounds down to about here, so another 10 say, and then I'm going to put my squash, my corn, my beans on some of them as the 3 sisters. Others are just going to have runner beans planted with canes, and then there's going to be a few then maybe with other things, and then all of them will get interplanted with leeks and purple sprouting broccoli later on. And then this patch here has been reserved for Swedes and other brassicas. For this year anyway, it's going to have to be very much block orientated, this garden, because I can prep large blocks specifically for certain crops, because as you can see, it's just soiled again. because I didn't have enough manure, which is a bit annoying. But hopefully by next year the compost bins will be up and working. There's already a full bin. The middle bin is full. That bin is half full of goat manure and wool, and it's actually getting quite hot. So every week I muck the goats out into this bin. So as you can see there, it's currently sat at about 34-35 degrees Celsius. This bin is cold, and it has been for well, I don't think it ever heated up. But you can see there's a bit of goat manure here. There's actually a worm in there, so it's going to be quite a worm castingsy mix, I'd imagine then. And then put a lot of potatoes on top of that one. Might put some squash in that one. So yeah, I'm just going to interplant a lot, so radishes and beetroots will have a bit of a space in this ground here. So I've got a lot of trays to sow if I want to get all this filled. And then next year, hopefully then, it'll be laid out. It's going to be one main path down the middle. I'm hoping, I'm hoping to put an archway here, so you walk through the archway and down the woodchip path, and then along here, in line with the rosemary and the sage, I want some more lavenders, rosemary, cola plants, etc., to form a hedge, and then continue that from there. And then here, where there's some bare soil, I'm going to put some sunflowers and other flowers for a cut garden. So that's why I haven't put any manure here, because flowers like more well, not as fertile soil as veg. And as you can see, the topsoil is quite nice and black anyway. If you compare that to the subsoil, which has been just picked out by the hedge by accident, it's all just been broad forked with the regular garden fork, I should say. Just using this manure fork that I borrowed. You just push it in and just pull it back like I showed on the previous video, or one of the previous videos, just to get a bit of aeration in, because compaction isn't amazing. So that's the end of that video. See you again in the next one.